Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for coming to the first demo day at Jumbo Ventures. It's great to have you guys all here. So I just want to take a quick moment to introduce the judges and outline some rules again, and then we can get started. So first thing, everyone who's been listening on the table has 5 minutes to pitch. I put all your guys' decks in line so that we can reduce the transition time. And then there'll be 3 minutes questions for the judges, and then 2 minutes for transition. And I'll keep a clock on that so we don't run over, because we are a little bit crunched on time. But now for the judges, I just want to introduce Sergio first. He's a judge and mentor at Mass Challenge, so I was really glad to have you here with us. And then Neil, who's investment partner at the Dorm Room Fund, which is the largest student-run venture capital in the world. And also Elaine, who is, as everyone I'm sure knows, the director of the Entrepreneurship Center. Yeah, if you guys want to take a moment to quickly introduce yourself, then we can also get started.
Yeah, so beyond being a judge and mentor at Mass Challenge, I run the innovation team in a startup. I joined the startup when we were pre-seed, like 5 people, 4 people, and now we are Series D, so we are almost 500. So I was able to see everything. Hopefully we get to the IPO as soon as possible. In parallel, I also launched my own startup accelerator, helping founders very early as you are to launch their businesses. But COVID hit and I had to shut it down, and I didn't resume it. So I keep helping the community through Mass Challenge now, and here I am.
I'm Neil. Like Tom mentioned, I am the managing partner at Dorm Room Fund, which is a $10 million student-run venture fund. So we invest in student-run, student-founded companies. Beyond Dorm Room Fund, my day job is this school bus right here. So I've been building a school bus technology company with a few folks for a few years now. We're now seed stage, raised some money from VCs here in Boston, as well as out in Silicon Valley. And then I used to run the entrepreneurship ecosystem over at Northeastern, things like incubators, accelerators, fun stuff like that.
Hi, I'm Elaine Chen. I'm the director of the Derby Entrepreneurship Center and also professor of practice in entrepreneurship. Derby Entrepreneurship Center promotes entrepreneurial mindset and skill set with our academic minor, which is the biggest minor on campus. If you don't already know about it, you should. We have at least 700 unique students take at least one course every calendar year. We're growing exponentially. On the co-curricular side, we do workshops, we do fireside chats, we do events, and I'm going to have 2 joint school events coming up, so keep your eyes peeled. And we'll kind of send around our link as well. We also host our competitions, ideas competition, 100K competitions. So basically, in short, we give food, we give money. And those are 2 different things that you need to know about. And we also have a summer venture accelerator. Yeah, awesome.
Awesome, thank you. So I guess without further ado, we'll have our first team come down.
Yeah. All right, so hi, my name's Devin. I'm a junior here, and this is my company, ClearTable. So one of the largest problems facing college students today is mental health, right? So in a study done by JED Foundation in 2021 on college and grad students, it found that 82% of students experienced anxiety, around 68% of students experienced social isolation and loneliness, and around 63% of students said that they experienced depression on a daily basis. And this only went up after the pandemic. Around 63% of students also said that their mental health issues got worse after the pandemic. And along with that is also a concern of racial unrest. From the same study, around 61% of students said they were extremely to very concerned about racial unrest in the United States. So this is a DM. I want to tell you guys a story real quick. About 2 to 3 weeks ago, I was out at a party, and my girlfriend met these 2 people who were freshmen here, and they were fairly drunk. We invited them back into the house, and we just had a really deep conversation that night. And we talked about what it means to be black at Tufts and what it means to have mental illness at Tufts. So this was the next day, and she texted me and she said, "Hey, that was an amazing, candid conversation that we had. And we ended up getting lunch about a week later to talk, and we talked for like 5 hours more about blackness at Tufts and stuff like that. And since then, I've had countless conversations with different people. Essentially every single person I walked up, or every single person I saw for like 2 weeks who was sitting alone, I would walk up to them and try to talk to them about mental health. So, what's the solution to this? And I think the solution is through community building. It's not through an app like Calm or any of these other sort of meditation apps that exist out there. But it's how do we kind of energize the conversations that are already being had in our communities, right? So through my conversations that I have with people about mental health, I realized that what people really wanted was to be able to talk about it, to be able to meet people like them, and just have these kind of conversations about identity, whether that's like about racial identity, about religious identity, about your mental health issues that are going, about financial issues that are happening, right, in your community. And there are already organizations that have this kind of conversation. I'm going to skip a slide. So, how can we begin to nurture this kind of communication, right? If the Africana Center wants to talk to the Brandeis Student Organization, Black Student Organization, I don't exactly know why this conversation would happen, but maybe they wanted to co-host an event together, right? My idea is a platform, right, that allows us to do two things. One, this does not show it well on this slide. Event curation, right? So pooling community events focused on mental health is step number one. And step number two is event curation, right? So that's giving students an opportunity to see what's going on in the community and giving student organizations a better chance of coordinating and communicating events, right? So the second part of that is kind of our key focus. It's what differentiates us. And that's to say that, like I said on the last slide, if two student organizations that already want to communicate with or want to host an event together, they can come on the platform, they can see, hey, what's going on. They can reach out to other student organizations that already exist and try and communicate something. And this picture is actually a picture of Tufts tickets. I am working on a thing myself, but I broke it earlier today, so I couldn't take a screenshot of it. So how do we plan to make money? An event surcharge, so about 5% on every ticketed event, and then through sponsored events. So we plan to co-host our own events on the platform. I'm doing one next semester that's like completely free, but these events would cost anywhere from $10 to $150 depending on the size and scope of the event. And it would just be a place where you can go and talk about things I mentioned earlier about your identity, and just like hang with people who are aware of that and open to that kind of conversation. So our timeline, we plan to launch in January 2021. I'm a student co-op right now, so I don't have a lot of time to work on this web app. But yeah, January 2021, so after my co-op ends, about a week after, is when I've planned to do that. In March 2021, we'd have the first co-sponsored event with the Tufts Africana Center. I've already talked to them about it, and we're planning to do something in that time frame. And then sometime in December, I would like to have the first large Boston event, somewhere between 250 to 1,000 college students, sort of talking about this greater conversation, furthering this conversation around racial identity. So that's, oh wait, no, sorry, the team. It's just me right now. That's me and my dog. His name's Prince. Got him about 2 weeks ago. He's really cute. So I'm a CS major at Tufts, and as well as a entrepreneurship minor here. I'm also someone who's has depression and anxiety, so I know the importance of this conversation. There's an event called SDLC, Student Diversity and Leadership Conference for high schoolers, that I went to back in 2018. And it was this 2.5-day event. We all got together, we had the same sorts of conversations. I wish I had a video of it. 30 more seconds.
Okay, please wrap it up.
Okay. And anyway, since then I wanted to kind of have this conversation again. And then I realized, hey, I can found a company that does that exact sort of thing. Thank you for listening. This is my contact information. Awesome.
Now, judges, I'll set a 3-minute timer for questions, and since we are a little bit crunched on time, the next group can start setting up.
So great work. I love the whole idea. First principle of presenting is never apologize. So you don't need to apologize for anything. So never do that again. So you did good. So I have two questions. So first question is, how can you go to market faster without having the web app? Because you really don't need to. You could be, you could figure out some way of kind of just using whatever platforms available to just do it. And the second question is, what are your thoughts on long-term team level sustainability? Because this is a student-led effort, and once you guys graduate, what's going to happen to it?
Well, to your first question about launching without the web app, yes, I can use Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that, and I've already begun to have this kind of conversation with the Africana Center. So events, we would use like their existing sort of platform, right? Their email lists, their Instagram, their Facebook, to sort of publicize the events, beyond the web app. And then your second question was about
When you graduate, what's going to happen to you eventually?
when I graduate, right? So the platform's still going to be there, and when I graduate, I mean, I hope that it's that people are still posting events on it. I want it to go to more colleges other than just Tufts, so like colleges like Harvard, and the question is really how can we begin to impact the greater like Boston community and potentially other communities as well, so that we can co-host events with both Tufts and Harvard and Harvard and BU as well. So yeah.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Great job. And just to clarify my understanding of the sort of event hosting, are you just curating the events, right, where other people are hosting these and they post on your platform, or are you also responsible for actually hosting those events, putting them together, the experience?
So a little bit of both. I think the event curation is just because there's already so many events out there that I know exist and that I know other students would be willing and wanting to go to. But the purpose of the event creation is because there's not spaces that exist in all communities. Not event creation. The purpose of our hosting our own events is because there's spaces that don't exist that we want to be able to build as well.
Okay.
Or I guess.
Okay, so who is your end customer? So who's going to pay for this? Because I was thinking, I see the pain on young people, but are they going to pay, or the one going to pay is the event organizer? If it is the event organizer, then what is the value prop for them? Because I see the value prop for the young people who suffer the pain, but what about those who are going to pay for it?
Right, so
or are they the same?
if I hosted like a dinner, right, where maybe you get to try like 3 different jollof rices from different African communities and talk about what it means to be an African student, is that an event that you would pay to go to? I certainly think so. So that's sort of my end customer is students are willing to go to these events, are willing to pay for these events already, and it's just giving them greater opportunities and then taking the pie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Niall St. Leggett. This is Safeway, and we fix more. Let's say you haven't lived in a while, or maybe you're new to the gym entirely. You go into a squat rack, or maybe a dumbbell rack. You don't know which weights to pick up, what form to use, or even what exercises to do. This is a real problem with a real market, and now a real solution. Over 74 million Americans in 2019 were members of a gym, a health club, or a fitness club, with over 50 million of those lifting weights. The pandemic did halt that number, but since reopening, the gym goers have now exceeded pre-pandemic levels and are tracking above said pre-pandemic levels. Since 2000, the number of gym goers has increased by 32%, showing a market growth and upward trend. And the key metric for Safeway is the 40 million Americans that experience feelings of panic or dread at the thought of lifting weights, but actively want to and just don't know where to get started, what to do, or how to do it. So what's the solution? It's Safeway. It's a mobile app that provides users with a list of common exercises per muscle group. It provides them with instructional videos for each muscle, or for each exercise, excuse me. And after they learn what exercises they would like to do and learn how to do it, they upload a video of themselves attempting the exercise to our app and receive personalized visual and vocal feedback within 24 hours or in real time, helping to improve their form, their body movements, and their overall output. What is key with our app is that it's easy to use. There are 2 tiers, which I'll touch on later, but with either tier, you upload your video, you choose whether it's private or public, whether you want other people to be able to learn from your video, or just keep it between you and the personal trainer. And there's progress checks. You can go back and see your previous instruction from 3, 6 weeks ago, and you can make sure you're still implementing that form that you were taught, helping to increase customer retention and overall user on the app. There are many people out here, or many companies in the space, but none offer the combination of features that Safeway does, which is our differentiation. It is the real-time and active feedback, the visual and vocal coaching, the progress checks, and the affordability in combination that separates us. I just want to stress that the benefits are the human touch, the one-on-one personalization to you, your specific body, your specific needs, maybe injury history. The progress tracking, allows you to make sure you're consistently growing, consistently improving, and it's cheaper than hiring a real personal trainer or a live personal trainer, and it's safer than using any old YouTube or Instagram video. It's not certified, that doesn't have information that you know you can trust. Here's our business model with 2 tiers. The main difference is the amount of videos that you can upload per week, and I would like to point your attention to the last bullet point, because that is where we expect to make our most revenue, which is the one-on-one live coaching. It's real personal training, it's just a virtual modality, increasing the ease of scheduling and allowing the trainers to be there step-by-step with you as you go through your exercises, your sets, your reps, etc. So let's go to market. I just laid out some easy in-user video power, etc. for you to see. But we're going to start small on the Tufts campus. We've already got 50 students in our primary market research to agree to sign up for the app and to pay either the tier 1 or tier 2 price. So once the app is launched, that's up and going. As we grow, we would like to use Instagram or Facebook influencers, as they have a large volume of followers, to get our name out there, partner with them, and increase our traction. And then further growing, we would like to partner with gyms and health clubs. So as you're walking in the door, the receptionist might ask, hey, I know you're trying to increase X, Y, and Z. Have you looked at Safeway, which allows you to correct your form, increase your output, etc. So that's Safeway. I'm Niall, an economics major here at Tufts, a student of Elaine Chen, actually, and a Derby entrepreneurship minor as well. That's Safeway, and let's transform together.
So,
Yes.
how do you plan to source personal trainers and basically keep them there and make them available?
Yeah. Had too much information, so I had to leave some questions. Thank you for asking the question. We are planning to pay the personal trainers $20 an hour. It is going to be estimated that it takes them 7 minutes to watch a short video of your 1 set or 1 rep, and then leave comments, both visual, much like to make comments both visually and leave you a written comment. So it's expected it will take 7 minutes for that total. And then our projections with set numbers are this, but we want to make it clear that it's not a full-time job that we're offering personal trainers. It's almost like an Uber-esque type option where if you're on your commute home and you have an hour, you can do that. If you're sitting on the couch and you would like to make an extra $60, this is your opportunity to do so by passively helping others improve their own living experience.
I'll ask a quick one here. This is awesome, especially given that I tried exercising again for the first time in too long and it did not work out. I'm curious sort of how you think about, there's a few competitors out there, especially folks who are starting to build, even if you're in Boston, who are thinking about like, oh, how can we just remove the human element entirely?
Yeah.
And they're building, the visual learning algorithms and all that fun stuff to have, AI correct form and give feedback. And that's sort of their, like what they're anchoring on as to why they can be affordable, because they can sort of remove that human element. I'm just curious sort of how you think about, you know, why is that human element important? Do you eventually see that not being important? And sort of what you think about that progression in general?
Sure. Found the human element very important in my primary market research. Person that I spoke to, the part of the stigma around weightlifting is simply not knowing what to do, right? And if you can have someone that can actually verbally coach you through it, that knows who you are, knows your specific goals, your specific limitations, and what you're trying to break through, you have one, much more motivation, personal motivation that comes from more standard live coaching. But you also feel more comfortable knowing that there's a human there with that human touch. And the biggest pain points were, one, not knowing what exercises to do, not knowing what form and how to correct your form if it is wrong, and then the fear of getting injured and hurt because of your lack of knowledge. And so, like, an AI can't specifically tailor a workout to you. We are allowing the visual coaching, which allows us to draw. Maybe it's the specific curvature of the back that we're emphasizing on a squat. Maybe it's arrows into the ground for motion, for force in a particular angle. But so we're providing both.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Christian, and this is Sophia, and we're going to be presenting our venture Community Connect.
So both Christian and I played sports our whole lives, and we've had a variety of private lessons and sports clubs that we've been involved in, and we're also college students and college athletes. So we were kind of straddling two different problem spaces here, and so we reached out to people at the Tufts community and parents of youth athletes, and we wanted to see what issues were difficult for them in terms of finding fun and accessible sports for their kids, and also finding ways to teach sports and have a job in college. So some things that stood out to us were flexible hours, a healthy lifestyle, and being able to coordinate to find a sports schedule that's beneficial for the trainers and for the athletes.
So what problems are we trying to solve? There's a big lack of opportunities for youth to participate and enjoy athletics, and then also another problem that we're solving is college students need jobs that fit their unpredictable schedules. So a lot of the problems that are part of youth sports is individual training is very expensive. Some atmospheres prioritize competition, to a toxic extent over health and enjoyment. And distance and timing can be barriers for working parents trying to get their kids to practice on a Monday at 5:30. It can be a real challenge.
For college students, they have very unpredictable and often inflexible schedules. So for people that want to work but have homework and have classes, it's important for them to be able to find a way to make their own schedules. And especially with jobs that have very tight shifts and employers that aren't willing to coordinate with schoolwork and with homework, it's hard for college students to be able to find a job that's suitable for them.
So our solution is Community Connect, which is a two-sided online platform that connects youth to college students for athletic training.
So we anticipate this looking similar to Care.com, which is a platform that connects babysitters to families. But for us, it would be college athletes to families that want their kids to have more opportunities to engage in youth sports. So this allows families to prioritize and to focus on specific sports and trainers that they think would be beneficial for their kids. So whether that's focusing on students that speak a particular language, students that are focused on one sport, students that prioritize fun over competition, and then for college athletes to be able to find times, locations, prices that work for them.
So pain points. Students need jobs that accommodate their unpredictable schedule. We went over that. Connect students offering private lessons and parents and youth searching for them so that they can coordinate pricing, time, and location with ease and flexibility.
So the main things that we're focusing on is being able to foster communication between both sides. So both the families want to find something that works for them and their work schedules, and students want to find something that will make them money and that will be fun for them and works with their homework and school schedules. So our platform works similar to something like a dating app or, like I mentioned before, Care.com, where both sides can match and find something that is suitable for them.
Yeah, so kind of similar to like Tinder, which is weird, but you might have a profile, they give a profile of a student athlete, kind of introduce themselves. So, hi, my name is Mr. Entrepreneur. I'm a sophomore studying computer science at Tufts. I'm on the varsity soccer team here. I'm hoping to work around my busy school schedule this spring and host weekly student-run practices. I plan on running a session from 3 to 4 on Sundays at the Tufts Park and hope to charge $15 a session. Please feel free to connect with me. And you might have a parent also posting a profile, seeking private soccer coach for my 10-year-old daughter in her second year of soccer. She's very athletic. We prefer a candidate played in high school or college, has experience coaching. So it's kind of just all about like easily connecting, like saying, like you have the wants from the parents and you have what the students are offering. So kind of just a way to easily connect them, and then they can chat and go forward.
So our strategy is to have families be able to join with a free membership so they can find what they're looking for, realize that the program is something that they would be interested in, find trainers that they have a relationship with, and continue to use the platform. They can also upgrade to an MVP membership, which would allow them to have access to background screenings and other information about the students. And then initially we're focused on the Tufts area, so we would use word of mouth referrals, and then hopefully spread to other schools in the Boston area, and then continue to grow the platform.
Yeah, so being at Tufts, being right in the middle of Medford and Somerville would actually be a perfect place to start. So.
You can take it off.
Okay, all right, so super quick. It's a two-sided market just like Care.com. There are two sides to Care.com like things. Tell me how you're going to do awareness generation and outreach on the family side, because it's quite clear how you acquire athletes on the university side.
That's a great question.
I think that just starts with reaching out. So for example, before we came up with this idea, I reached out to the Somerville Rec, like a youth recreational department. And I kind of just said, like, I'm interested in running a student-led athletic program for the youth of Somerville. That was before I had a concrete idea, and he responded saying he was definitely interested and that he wanted to talk more, but I didn't really have an idea at the time, so I definitely need, like, that's where we'll probably start and hope to get it going around Somerville and Medford.
I think another big place is Facebook and also Nextdoor and Patch. I was able to find a job giving private lessons for lacrosse through there, because a lot of parents will host, and it's also easy to spread word quickly through that. So I think Facebook, and then also just word of mouth once it starts to grow.
And it's the type of thing where if parents, they take a chance and use our platform and they enjoy it, parents talk, and just the word keeps spreading, and yeah.
Quick sort of follow-up, somewhat related, around what that family and parent looks like. I'm curious, have you been able to, identify what demographics really that family falls under, or any more information about that target market on the parent or family side? Is it upper middle class, or what are you thinking about, especially as you start off?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it would make a lot of sense if it's targeted towards more like lower income, when you have working parents who can't get their kids to practice or really can't invest that time to make sure that they're getting their physical activity. So I think that's a great place to start. But that being said, I don't know if there's a specific demographic that needs to be targeted.
Yeah, I think the beauty of having the platform where people can set their price ranges is that the parents can pick something that's in their price range, and students can do something that will make them enough money to meet their budgets. So it can be flexible.
Awesome. Nice.
So mine, I would say, is a comment more than a question on addressing two different pain points in two different personas. It can become quite complex at some point to manage two very different audiences and and address their needs probably. So it's just a comment that it's a valid business model. It's very valid, but it can be more complex than solving just one single pain point for one type of persona.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andrew and I'll be presenting my startup, Lockmore, which is Latin for we will speak. So, I'm going to put you in the position of your average college senior. Congratulations, you got a job offer. Hooray, congratulations, that's great. That's so cool. But now what? If you were the average college senior, you don't know that you can negotiate your offer. And further, you wouldn't know how to even if you tried. So, this is a personal problem for many, but is reflective of a much, much, much larger social issue, the student debt crisis. $1.7 trillion loans, owned and securitized. It's a huge deal. It's sending people down career paths they don't want. It's ruining lives. Equally, it plays into another huge social problem, which is the fact of, the gender pay gap, right? So, within entry-level positions, female-identifying graduates earn 79% of what male-identifying graduates make from top 100 universities. This is not due to any lack of skill or any lack of asking. This is due to 60% of female-identifying employees who never negotiated salary. So, this is a problem that our Career Center at Tufts is thinking about very seriously. In my recent conversation with the Tufts University Budgeting Director, they admitted that this is a problem for the Career Center and that they're looking for a smarter solution. This got me thinking, can I write software to help the Career Center, rather than replacing jobs and replacing what they do directly, give them a tool to help them do their job in a more efficient way? That brought me to Lockmore, which is an AI-powered vocal chatbot designed to help students find their voice in salary negotiation. So, firstly, after selling to a university, all students have to do is log in with their school credentials, pick a job to negotiate for, select conditions related to the job, like for example, do you have another offer on the table, upload your resume to be used in conversation, and then practice. The actual interface for a student looks very similar to a regular Zoom call or something like that, where you have your own reflection up there, you have our handy dandy little fake recruiter guy talking back to you here, and you have a small feedback window down here just to give you a little advice here and there before an ultimate kind of feedback at the end. So under the hood, we have proof of tech already. That is a bot that I coded, which is a very simple conversation tree that basically says, hey, how's it going? And it goes from there. What's going on here is we're using machine learning and AI to basically probabilistically assign what you are saying down to a specific path in the conversation tree, and then from there it gives you the best response. So let's talk competition. The biggest competitor right now is doing nothing. It's cost effective and not much else. Cool. Doing it yourself, it's cost effective from a student's perspective, sure, and it's educational as well. But there's no guarantee you're being data driven, and there's no guarantee you're going to improve your salary. What's more is that it's not a solution at scale. Having a full-time employee from the perspective of the customer of career centers is a very similar option to Lockmore. However, is not a solution at scale nor cost-effective in comparison. Lockmore, in contrast, is data-driven, will improve your salary, is cost-effective, a solution at scale, and further educational to the student. So the first way that I wanted to value my market was in education tech. This is kind of the optimistic approach because ed tech is huge right now. By looking at kind of the operational and non-personnel expense of career centers, what I was able to do is basically chop up how much of this they can spend on software and then kind of find a similar growth rate. So about $360 million at 16%, that's pretty cool. The current core geography is Massachusetts because of the density of schools, and it's a market right around $10 million. So this is the perspective of the full-time employee kind of based valuation. What I did was through interviews with the Career Center, I learned that this is their job at about 5% of their time, give or take. So by taking 5% of their total salary budget, what I was able to do was basically find the market for 5% of Career Center's operational practices with respect to salary. It's a little less optimistic, but realistically, the real market probably lives somewhere in the middle, and that's where the innovation is going to come to. In terms of pricing, I've gone with the per-user model with extensions depending on overuse and overdraw. It's right around $11,000 for 1,500 seats. I can explain these numbers more in depth after the presentation. I expect a pretty low churn rate because we're dealing with higher education. They have all kinds of stuff to get things in and out of budget. It's a mess. And what's more is that this leads to a really, really healthy revenue projection of $2.3 million at 300K users, chosen to represent the number of undergrads in Massachusetts. So Lockwood is a team of one, as you can see. However, I am informed by many students, many interviews going on here to figure out how they best learn and figure out what information they're looking for. Many recruiters in tech for and growing, as well as prominent DEI and J figures to make sure that to make sure that I'm building a product that's good for everyone and equitable, as well as members of the university budgeting faculty from both the Career Center as well as the budgeting department directly. So, milestones, MVP rollout by the next quarter. I believe in a product-led organization, so I'm going to be constantly iterating the product based on customer feedback. So we're going to be validating the market and stuff like that. Hopefully, we're going to have consistent ARI by Q3 and Q4. The team, hi, it's me. I'm Andrew, it's nice to meet you. I'm a senior, getting a BA in economics. I'm a second-time founder. I have SaaS startup experience in the Boston area, and I'm a self-taught backend developer. In my free time, I like to play piano and squash. So financially, it's product development. Getting AWS to train the model and stuff is going to be huge. That's what the $400 is going toward. It's really cool to pitch to you guys, and I'm excited. What else? That's pretty much it. Open up to questions.
I'm curious, just sort of, I don't have too much familiarity with selling to universities, but I imagine as any big institution, it's fairly, my brother sells to universities and he has a little bit of a nightmare with that. I'm curious what you see the value prop being to the Career Center of the university itself when you go to sell them on this, right?
Absolutely.
Students might be getting more salary, but what's the actual incentive for them to end up purchasing?
Right, so they are under budgeted and overstaffed. Generally speaking, Career Centers are right now on a pretty tight budget squeeze, which is to say that their time is better used on doing other things if they can afford that within their own salary budget. The pitch here is basically saying, I can save you 5% of your schedule, and what I can do here is basically help you do more important things that are going to help improve the student body and, you know, whatever else comes with your job.
Cool. Understaffed or budgeted, or overstaffed understaffed?
Would,
Not enough money.
Right.
None. Okay.
not enough time, yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
What is your product validation approach? Like making sure that it works and balancing that with going to market. Like how do you plan to balance that?
Right, so what I plan to do is basically run current seniors as well as future seniors through it just as kind of a demonstration thing. It's purely a tool to practice with, so there's no actual risk from the students other than maybe a little bit of their time there. As well as, you know, maybe some compensation to, hey, you know, try it out, that kind of stuff. In terms of actually bringing it to market, what I plan to do is give a pretty comprehensive demo and basically show how the sausage is made. If you can communicate machine learning and AI in a really simple language, a lot of people can kind of grasp onto it as the powerful tool that it is.
I have one question being actually on the sausage making side of
Sure.
budget. The budget cycle of academic institutions is July to June,
Mhm.
right? So your timeline has, basically you're offset. So what are your thoughts in terms of how are you going to acquire that very first customer given, first of all, budget is complicated, the budget cycle is July to June, and how much knowledge do you have of what is the budget for the Career Center and what pocket of cash you're going to draw from?
Yeah, so I'm getting all my information on that, both from people at the Career Center and people who sell software to them otherwise. What I'm basically planning on doing is getting that kind of information and eventually kind of scraping it through all kinds of means out there. I'm currently scraping salary data, and it lives in a pretty similar place on the internet in terms of budgeting and stuff like that. And yeah.
How can you go faster?
Sorry?
How can you go faster?
In my presentation.
Everything. Like, no, I mean like getting an MVP, kind of getting a proof of concept, getting into a real life situation where you actually get some outcomes because, whoever is interviewing is taking them a long time to get the job or not and stuff like that.
Right, so the idea is basically stressing to students that how important this is before they actually have the job offer on the table. What a lot of students do is they kind of wait until they have the job offer and they say, okay, like how can I negotiate? if you learn how to kind of negotiate your offer before you even know what you're dealing with and stuff like that, you're gonna speak better in those situations, and you're going to have a more successful financial outcome.
Cool.
Hi, my name is Matthew Johnson.
I'm Siva Kamath, and our app is called Campus Cosmo, a universal hub for college life. So what's the need for an app like this? So college students organize all aspects of their life over a variety of different apps, whether that's academic, networking, accessing student services like laundry, or balancing a social life over a variety of social media. It's all apps. And for clubs and activities, there isn't even a standard app. Students just use whatever works. So some clubs will use GroupMe, or some clubs will use Discord. And overall, it just gets complicated. And although this network of app works, it's not the simplest it can be. And it could be better tailored for students. And so that's where Campus Cosmo comes in, a centralized app for all aspects of campus life to make the lives of college students just a little bit easier.
So the team is me and Viva. I have actually taken a gap year. I'm a freshman right now, and I have created multiple profitable mobile applications in the past, so that's my experience going into making this happen.
I'm also a freshman, and I have more experience on the marketing side of things. I've run a couple of social media campaigns, one being for another nationwide student-founded organization my senior year of high school. So that involved graphic design, advertising, etc. So combined, we thought we had the technical background to get an app like this up and running. And so our customers are, of course, college students. So we interviewed 15 of them across these colleges at the top. And these are very basic statistics since it's a very small sample size. But when asked what the hardest thing they had to go through when getting used to college life, the two most popular answers were finding clubs and activities, and then balancing their social life with academics. And some loose statistics, when asked if they would agree with the statement that their existing mobile app is unreliable, 13 to 15 said that they would agree. And similarly, 12 to 15 said that the existing info on student services like dining and laundry or access to it was unsatisfactory. So these are all things we considered when it came to the features that we wanted to include in Campus Go.
Now we're going to go over some of the features that our app includes. One of the main features is schedule planning. So we take all of the things that you are going to have throughout your day in your college life, such as your classes, clubs, events, and just put it into one centralized calendar for you to see. So that's one feature. Another feature is clubs and activities all in one giant list for you to view, so you can see what the club's about. If you want to join the club, if you just want to see more information about any club, or if you just want to make your own club, since it doesn't exist, you can see all this information in one easy-to-use section of the app. We also included a dining section, so for each school, we take the dining information from the school website and put it into the app, so you can see for each dining hall what the food is going to be like for that day.
There's also chat forums, so you can put your class schedule, like Matt said before. So you can also talk to people in your class, but also talk to students that have taken the classes they're taking prior to learn what their experience was like and what the class is like as well. And then there's also a laundry section, so you can see what washers and dryers are available, how much time is left, but also who's using the washer since you swipe in with your ID card. So you can reach out to them directly if the washer dryer is done instead of just sending a message into the building group as it works now. So this is just to show how Campus Cosmo compares to some other categories of apps we've mentioned already. So it allows you to schedule, connect with clubs and activities, classmates, and access student services all in one easy-to-use place. Instead of students adapting other apps to their needs, like social media, using it for clubs, Campus Cosmo has all of those features in one easy-to-use place.
So this is our timeline of how we expect to proceed in the future. We already have a basic app made and published on the App Store, and it was built and we published it, and now we're going to start marketing and advertising to the Tufts community before. After we do that, we redesign and republish the app based on user feedback from Tufts. And after we feel like we have a solid design from just Tufts, then we plan to roll out our marketing nationwide and also monetize the app as well.
That's all. Thanks for listening.
So I have a question. I taught at MIT for 10 years before coming to Tufts, so the back end is completely different. All the student clubs are in different places. We use Discord here for the CS people. And the back end of the university side is A, inexplicable, B, often doesn't present a reasonable API. Sometimes it takes years to integrate. So my question to you is, it sounds like you got a good handle on what's going on with Tufts, but when you go from Tufts to the next school, what is your framework in terms of how to replicate and how to actually figure out the back-end integrations? Because this only works if your automation works.
So all of the features except for the dining and laundry data will work without using any APIs. Those are the only two features that involve something specific at that school. In worst case scenario, we can just provide a web link for the dining facilities if need be.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So then, in short, basically, there will be a configuration on a per school basis. And then, the school-specific stuff, you're going to have to just maybe give up on sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Thanks. A quick question around sort of the. There's been even a few organizations at Northeastern. One of them is called Parade that have tried this at a few schools, and one of the things that they consistently saw as a big problem, even as they got adoption, was people, specifically the organizations that are posting. Was one of the pieces was this clubs and organizations and events, right? Was that okay? Cool. One of the things that they saw a lot of trouble with is student-run organizations already have so much trouble in terms of like bandwidth and running things and posting to the 3 platforms that the university requires, that they saw a lot of trouble in terms of getting adoption and consistent adoption and usage from organizations, student-run organizations specifically. So I'm curious how you think about like that, making sure people are really invested in the flywheel of posting on the platform and keeping people engaged, specifically organizations.
So a lot of student-run organizations, I know I can only speak obviously for Tufts, but I think just in general, they lose a lot of membership because people just simply don't know about the club. Because there's no one place that all these clubs are posted, there's no one listing. We're both freshmen, I know my freshman experience, it was very difficult to find out one source. Even the club fair, not everyone showed up to that. So I think if the motivation for clubs and activities to use this one centralized space would be that I think they would actually gain membership if people actually had a space where they could be educated about what the app actually is, and then also very easily join, attend meetings, know what's going on.
So at big companies, like 300 people and above, they have a very similar problem. And so I see an analogy on that they have apps everywhere, like stuff to handle, like very hard to consolidate everything. So the solution for them is intranets. First question is, have you looked at intranets? If intranets have solutions for universities or colleges? I don't know if they have. I know they focus on corporations, but maybe they do have an option for them. And the second one is, who's your end customers? Is the university itself or the students? Because I mean, based on what Elaine asked on the integrations and the APIs, it sounds to me that it's more the university, but I don't know if you think it is the student.
So we wanted this app to, well, are you asking if we would rather approach universities about this, for like, have them so work together with them to integrate it themselves?
Yes.
I think that would be an option, but our platform, we wanted to allow students to be able to express their voices like in the chat app and like stuff like that, and if they feel like it's affiliated with the university, that might not be the case.
Yeah, the difference with Campus 1000 is that a lot of it focuses on that more social aspect of taking inspiration for how students currently use social media apps to connect with clubs and student organizations. So it's really tailored for the student in that respect, which is very different from other competitors out there.
Awesome, thank you guys.
Hello and welcome to our pitch for House Hub. I'm Max.
I'm Malona.
This is our pitch. So first, let me tell you a little bit about myself and kind of the backstory. I hate the first of each month. I dread it. The first of each month means my house bills are due. And when my house bills are due, my roommates, we just get into fights and it sucks. Electricity, rent, utilities, Wi-Fi, so many bills to manage and so many payments to send. I live with 5 other guys, and between just us 5, we average about 32 payment transactions. And that's across PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, Cash, check. It's a chaotic process. But at the end of the day, the worst part of the process is when my turn comes around. I cover the electricity, and I get that minus 300. Sometimes fluctuates, could go up to 500, could go down to 200. minus $200 charge in my bank account. And for a college student, that's gut-wrenching. And knowing that I have that minus $200 charge, I have to go around and chase my housemates to slowly pay me back throughout the month, and I have to keep nudging them. Hey dude, like you still haven't paid my Venmo for electricity and I need to go get gas for the car. And that sucks. And so that led to the creation of HouseHub. The problem we're specifically solving is managing bills is a hard task, and it's a huge financial burden, especially for college students. So our solution is centered around our hubs. At HouseHub, each house is a hub, and each hub is connected to individual roommates. When you sign up for a hub, you connect your own bank account, your own payment system to the central hub, whether that's a debit card, credit card, your own checking account, or your own savings account. And on the first of each month, the hub itself is charged, and then the hub automatically charges each member. The hub itself is its own bank account with its own routing number and account number, and it's hooked up to the utilities company just as you would hook up your own checking account or your own debit card. So the utilities company has no idea that you're even using HouseHub.
So here's a Figma mock-up of what our product is going to look like. This is the rent page in specific. Up here you can see the total amount of rent that every individual has to pay, and down here you see all the individuals that have to fulfill the payment. And here are some codes that we've gathered from interviewees, or just heard around the campus about the common struggle that people have to split these bills amongst their roommates. This is a pain that we're trying to take away from our customers. And so our customers are adults living with roommates, and this doesn't just pertain to the 15 million students that are already living off campus. This also pertains to pretty much all adults in the United States living with roommates, and this is actually a quite large amount. So 1 in 3 US adults live with at least one roommate that isn't their romantic partner. And up here on the graph, you can see that adults over 24 living with roommates has only increased in the last 20 or so years.
So let's talk about our competition. There's a lot of other payment apps out there, and there's actually a couple collaborative payment apps that are coming out, such as Fuse and Splitwise. What separates us from Fuse and Splitwise is we're specifically marketed towards house payments. At the end of the day, HouseHub will be the all-in-one roommate solution, the only app that you'll need to live in a house. PayPal and Venmo, as much as a great payment platform they aren't rent-focused, and they aren't really collaborative. I will still have to go and ask for payments myself from my other roommates to make these bill payments. So let's talk about our revenue. We're looking to take a percentage of each transaction that is small, similar to our competitors PayPal and Venmo. However, our model is inelastic to season because on the first of each month, like clockwork, we will be taking our percentage as you make that transaction for rent, utilities, electricity, or Wi-Fi. We also plan to offer a subscription that will diminish this fee to provide incentive to continue to make these transactions, and it makes it easier for the user. So let's take a look at our roadmap. Here, we will develop our minimum viable product over winter break, and we will be using third-party payment processors such as PayPal or Venmo or Zelle to enact this hub system using a web app instead of our actual app. Moving forward, in fall of 2022, we'll create our own payment processor with our own centralized hub system, as I just described, and we will launch the App Store. We have plans for expansion once we launch the App Store to offer more features that aren't centered around the payment system. This includes a chores list, a groceries list, a collaborative calendar. And like I said, HouseHub will be the only app that you need to live with anyone in a house. Meet the team. I'm Max, the CEO and co-founder, and I have tons of experience in marketing and sales.
And I'm Alona, and I'm more on the technical background, as is Evan, who's not here with us today.
And Evan has a background in software engineering and front-end development. Thank you.
I'll kick us off. I'm curious, sort of, as far as you look at the roadmap. Actually, I'm going to pivot questions. I'll say that one for later. How do you see yourself getting in front of these folks? People who are constantly sort of battered with tons of software, tons of different payment softwares, fintechs. Like, what's the thought in terms of who do you go after first in that broader market, and how do you get in front of them?
Right, so our first customer that we're going to target is actually tough students here. And we are planning on setting up a table in the campus center describing our app and showing that we have this automated collaborative payment system and talk to students that we've already spoken with. I'm personally on the rugby team and I go to a lot of houses each week for team meetings and everything. And there's constantly, you can hear in the background like, dude, you didn't pay the utilities. Or it's like, all right, who didn't pay the rent? The landlord is upset. And so we're going to focus on those conversations and talk with our peers because we, at the end of the day, are our target consumer. And that's how we're going to get our app in front of them. And we actually plan to offer our MVP to these first users and give them the web app version just to get used to it and see, is this actually a fair system? Does this work?
So you have a follow-on persona who is the people who are like out there working over 24, living with someone. How much of your research was allocated to that particular demographic and psychographic demographic segment, and what are you finding in terms of their behaviors thus far?
So what we found is that they actually are relatively, I don't want to use the term stingy, but very careful with their financials in the way that they're kind of trying to cut corners and find roommates to live with each other because they're not necessarily in a financially stable area, which comes back to the point that it's very tough for them to front that $5,000 check for all their roommates to pay the rent each month. And that's why we think HouseHub is a great solution for them because they're able to relieve some of that financial burden by using this collaborative payment system.
So that sounds like it's the right descriptor for a college student. So my question is, you did not specify the boundaries of your follow-on market. 24 plus can go quite far. So do you have data that says, if they're like 34, they're still living with someone, they still have this problem?
We don't have as much data on that as we have been mainly reaching students so far. However, we think that this pertains to the larger population because a lot of adults are experiencing the same things as students are with financials. Especially during COVID times, a lot of people moved together with other couples or other friends because they couldn't front so much money at once. And so they're also in this position where they can't maybe put $5,000 a month into rent. But we definitely do have to do more market research into that larger area.
I would actually like to go back to that point, and one of the things we were talking about was expanding our options to have not necessarily payment focused features for the app, and that can be chores, groceries, and other collaborative parts of living in a house. And when we were doing our original market research, we found that there's other apps that have tried this idea of like centralized house living, and one of the things that constantly customers were complaining about was, I have a house, but I'm trying to rent an Airbnb, and I don't necessarily need to split payments in Airbnb, but like I need to communicate that we need to get these groceries, or like someone needs to do these chores, and that's what we really want to focus. And we'll offer that as a subscription service, so they don't necessarily need to use the collaborative payment part of the app in our expansion plan, but they still have access to the centralized house system.
Awesome. If you have a question. Oh.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to share some overall feedback and then hand it to Sergio and then Neil, and then we're going to unwind and announce the winner. So first of all, I want to commend everyone for kind of taking that first step, and for some of you, it's like the 7th step because I know some of you got are repeat customers in terms of creating ventures. So congratulations on kind of actually putting yourself out there and presenting. So great work, everyone. I have some general pro tips that kind of cut across all the teams, and I'm just going to go through them right now. First of all, on pitching. So I think that you guys all did a great job. Some of you are maybe less nervous than the rest, but in general, first of all, a great hook is a great hook, and it really captures people's imagination. So an example is like Max says, well, he opens with a story, and that's kind of a great way to open. Never apologize. Devin has to go, but never apologize. No matter what happens, even if the power goes out, you don't need to apologize. It's not your problem. And generally, everybody can afford to invent a mic drop moment. So what you don't want to do is stop when the clock tells you to stop and stop mid-sentence and stop. You want to get to the end of your presentation. A lot of times, if you have a call to action, that's a great way to do a mic drop. Or you could say, we are blah, blah, and we do blah, mic drop, and then you leave. Because you want to kind of just really end it. So The second thing is do more faster. So there are a couple of teams where we're like, how can you go faster? How can you go faster? So in entrepreneurship, it's always good to just kind of find the smallest thing you can do and just go into the market and test it. So every time you find yourself needing to wait for months to make an MVP so you can go test something, ask yourself, how can I fake it in the back end with like a Google spreadsheet, right? Figure out how to fake it, go into market as quickly as possible. So that's an overall. Did you want to add something?
No, I'll add after.
Okay, all right. So the third thing is if you have anybody in your target market you don't know, and it's a two-sided market, for example, like the care.com for sports, right? Double down on the side you don't know, because you know yourself, you know your own needs and wants. So if you have a follow-on market that is like the 24-year-old plus renters, double down on the people you don't know, because that's going to help you so much. The money side is not part of the rubric, and the three of us found ourselves constantly having to remind ourselves money is not part of the rubric, and that's by design. However, you can see if you have actually some reasonable financial basis of your venture, it just makes it much more comprehensible and much more easy to understand. So just think about that. And I know that some of you have had some of that in class, some of them have not. Come see me. If you want to learn that, come see me. We're creating new programming inside and outside of class. We can help you with that. And the last thing is be brave, be bold. So all of you have really interesting ideas, and you can go much bigger, much faster. For example, Safeway. So how can you make your target market 5 times, 10 times, 20 times bigger in your account, right? Be big, be broad, bold, and think about how you can make it much bigger than where you initially had it. I'm going to hand it over to you guys.
Yeah, so just one piece of feedback, which is, again, go faster. And something that I like to say is focus on failure. Why? All startups fail at some point. All of them. All of them fail at some point, iterate, improve, and then at some point they get success. Focus on failing fast. Like, you found a problem, define a hypothesis, and try to prove it wrong or right, like as soon as possible. That's actually the best way of finding the right product, going to the market. So as Elaine said, like, fake it, build something quick, go to market, fail fast, and iterate. That's, I would say, from in my opinion, the top guideline you should follow in order to survive. Like, fail fast as soon as possible. I have experience building a product for 2 years without going to market sooner, failing massively because not talking to customers and not testing it with customers, because it was the right solution, but it was not properly implemented. So you will never know what will fail until you actually go to market. So please focus on failure. I would say that's my favorite.
Just a few additional notes that'll echo a lot of what was already said, but I think as far as just a few trends pitching, one of the biggest and most important things I think to remember is that you are an author and an architect when you're pitching. So you have this opportunity to basically take the strokes of a paintbrush and make people feel things. One of the things that I like to look back at is like 11th grade English class, you learn, or even maybe it's 10th or 9th, you learn about the story arc and where they build up to the conflict, and then there's the conflict, and then from there you get the resolution down. Your job as a storyteller is to paint that picture very clearly for us. And so for the first half, you're focusing on making sure people feel, understand, and really, really deeply feel the pain that you're painting, right? And so I should really feel like, oh shoot, this is real bad. Who's going to solve this? By the time you get to that mic drop moment of, here, I'm the hero. I'm the hero of this story. And so I think remembering that you're painting a story, that you are a storyteller, can make things really powerful. And I think a bunch of you did a phenomenal job with that tonight. As far as the actual visual presentations go, I think also remembering that the decks tonight were awesome. Remembering that they're a tool, and you want to make sure that you're the focus of the stage, and that's a tool to support you, but it shouldn't distract from you. It shouldn't take away from people looking at the deck instead of looking at you or focusing on that. So it should all be really supplementary stuff. And then I think the last two things here are things that were already said, but when you're building out your presentation, your narrative, even your 30-second elevator pitch, I like to think of the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your efforts in planning and prepping a pitch should be spent on the first 20%, 80% of your effort should be spent on the first 20%, which is that problem. If you can't make somebody really truly understand what problem you're solving quickly and understand that from the customer's perspective, they won't be able to understand the rest of that pitch. And so that's really the most important thing to anchor on, in my opinion. And so as you build the pitch, as you build the rest of your company, focus on that problem. What are we solving? What hypothesis do we have? And then go talk to your customers about that problem to really validate. Cool. Overall, it was such a phenomenal experience to just watch and be in this room. So thank you so much for having us. I think we can move on to, Tom, if it works for you, the awards.
Yeah, I think we move on to that. I'll let you guys take away. I have no idea. I have no idea, guys.
Alrighty, so first up, we're going to announce the second place winner of $100 of the Jumbo Ventures Demo Day, and it is Niall with Safeway.
So, in the first place, I want to apologize because it's very hard to pronounce the company name, but it is Andrew. Lockmar?
Close enough.
So congratulations to
Yeah.
all of you.